People are like, people ask me questions about connection, and I've learned a couple things, and I can talk about like lead generation connections, but like I wasn't the most connected person. I was disconnected. I was lonely. It was a pandemic. So I started a podcast to learn from the people that knew something. So I was going to bring on business owners and leaders in Rochester, New York, and slowly made a name for myself as the Rochester business podcaster. That kind of led into accidentally starting a marketing firm. I didn't really know what I was doing as a business owner, and I wasn't actually selling much. I was building relationships, and I was being a student, because every conversation I had, they knew 99 things that I didn't know. I knew one thing that they didn't know, and it's how to market well.
You know that moment when you're 3 drinks into a deep conversation and suddenly everything clicks. Small talk dies, the real stories come out, and you realize you're not just talking business, you're building something that matters. Welcome to Whiskey is for Closers. Today, we are pouring the good stuff, and we are getting into what really drives revenue, and that is real, authentic human connection. I'm Craig Johnson, along with my 2 co-hosts, Steve Caton and Drew Epperson. And if you are a founder who never planned on becoming a full-time salesperson, but here you are, crushing quota and burning out, this show is for you. And today, we are sitting down with someone who has mastered the art of conversation in a way that most salespeople only dream about. Ben Albert has conducted over 500 interviews with everyone from Emmy winners to cult whistleblowers, from billionaire advisors to convicted felons. But here's the kicker. He's not just a podcast host. He has accidentally built the ultimate sales training laboratory, one conversation at a time. As the founder of Real Business Connections, Ben is on a mission to connect 1 billion professionals to life-changing wisdom. And today, he is bringing a drink and some hard-earned truth about what deep conversations can teach us about sales. And vice versa, what sales can teach us about deep, meaningful connection. So whether you're grinding through your 10th cold call of the day or trying to figure out how to scale beyond yourself, grab your favorite pour and settle in, because we are about to discover why the microphone might be the most underrated sales tool in your arsenal. Ben Albert, welcome to Whiskey is for Closers.
Wow. What just... I got goosebumps. What just happened?
I love it.
Will you introduce me?
We do it live, man.
Yeah.
Will you introduce me everywhere I go?
Right? Let's do it. Let's do it, Ben.
I want to walk up on stage after that intro.
Talk about edifying someone.
Good. I love it. Gentlemen, what are we drinking today? Let's go around.
Yeah, let's start with you, Ben.
Yeah, so I actually don't have whiskey today. I often drink Knob Creek, but I've got a Julius Treehouse Brewing. It says right on the back, bright tropical beer with notes of peach, mango, passion fruit, and citrus, etc., etc., etc. I just got a couple cases. They're from New England area, Boston, and hops like that expire in a week or 2, so I have to chug them so they don't go bad on me.
Okay.
I love that. I love that.
Did you say it's an IPA?
New England IPA.
Yeah. Is it pretty hoppy or more mellow?
It's called Julius, and it's like a citrus explosion. It's hoppy, but it's not intense. I don't know if anyone's had a beer that feels bitter and hoppy just for the sake of it. The
Yes, I hate those.
drinkability, the crushability is off the charts. Just Google Treehouse Brewing if anyone hasn't heard of it. Some of the best IPAs on earth. So anytime I'm from Rochester, New York, so anytime I'm towards Massachusetts area, I always bring home a couple cases. It's very good. Yes, sir.
Love it.
Awesome. I'll go next. I chose to go with kind of a staple for us in the Epperson house, and that is Travelers. So Travelers is a wonderful, I think it is, what's his name? Stapleton.
Yeah.
His whiskey that he created, Chris Stapleton. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I hear that song, Tennessee Whiskey, and I hear the version with Justin Timberlake, which I just listened to a few days ago, I get goosebumps because I was like, listen, I like that song and I like my whiskey and I got both of them together. So let's rock and roll.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
when Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton did that song together at I think it was the CMA Awards. I'd never heard of Chris Stapleton before that. And I watched
Really?
that song and I was like, holy cow, this guy is amazing. I became an instant fan.
You're more
I
of a
will say-
Justin fan, Steve?
What's that?
You're more of a Justin Timberlake fan?
Yeah, man. I'm a JT guy.
Him and JT are tight.
We're tight, baby.
I love
All
it.
right, so funny story real quick. You know, the first time I heard Chris Stapleton live was opening up for Metallica or Guns N' Roses. Opening up for Guns N' Roses, never would have put them together, and it was awesome. And I was like, this dude sounds better live than he does actually on CD. So, and that shows you how old I am. CD, really? You're
At
welcome.
least you didn't say cassette.
Well, let me jump in and go next, and Steve, you can go last, and then you can kick us off.
Okay.
So I am famous, Ben, for not bringing whiskey to the podcast, and today I actually did. So I went with a pour that is, it was a gift from Steve by way of his son, Cody, who works at the Breckenridge Distillery in Breckenridge, Colorado. And it is a pour a bottle that they only do once a year. And Steve, you could probably do a better job of explaining it, but it is called Sexy Motor Oil. Let's see if we can, it's kind of bright on my Sexy Motor Oil. You couldn't really see the label there, but Steve, explain kind of what they do, because it is delicious and very unique and different every time.
Yeah, so it's a collaboration that Breckenridge Distillery and Breckenridge Brewery do together. So they basically take, beer barrels, and the brewery gives these beer barrels to the distillery, who then ages their beer in the beer barrels, and then they take that out and then they put it back in. They use different barrels. I'm screwing it up, but it's basically 2 times they switch the barrels. So they make the beer, they make the whiskey, and then they swap them, and then they swap them again. And they call it Sexy Motor Oil, and they do different beers and different whiskeys every year. So it's always different, but it's always incredible, and it's really hard to get. But because my son works there, I got to hook up.
Thanks, Cody.
Yeah. Thank you, Cody. Shout out to Cody.
Who's
Yeah,
probably
Cody.
not listening to this podcast, but thanks
He does
anyway.
listen. He does listen. Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome. So, okay, what am I drinking? I've got this is Basil Hayden. It's the red wine cask finish version of Basil Hayden. I know Basil Hayden kind of catches some shade because it's, pop culture, mainstream whiskey, but this particular one in the red wine cask is really nice. I'm a fan of anytime, like I was just saying with Sexy Motor Oil, I'm a fan of whiskey being finished in different wine barrels or cognac barrels or whatever it is. And this is a really solid one. So that's what I'm drinking today. Basil Hayden's. So Ben, let's go back to Craig's amazing intro where he was talking about how you've interviewed everyone from Emmy winners to cult whistleblowers. I don't know what that is, but hey, I mean, maybe you can share the story. But take us back. Like, how did you think, I'm going to start having these deep conversations with strangers and recording them? And I know it started with the music podcast, so maybe we start there, but just kind of take us back and tell us how it all got started.
Yeah, I didn't expect to be interviewing cult whistleblowers. And what that is shortly is Sarah Edmondson and Nippy Ames, her husband, were in a cult called Nexium. And it was like a self-help cult mixed with a pyramid scheme. It was like it was a pyramid scheme, self-help cult that the founder was basically creating a harem and started branding the women near their, private area. So obviously that's not cool. Obviously, that doesn't happen overnight. No one joins a cult. They join a good thing. They join a cause. And she was on the cover. Her brand was on the cover of the New York Times. And people are like, what's that have to do with business? We talk about all sorts of stuff because I'm curious about human behavior. I'm curious about, what makes people cult-like cultures? What's the difference between manipulative tactics and things that are actually there to help someone make a educated decision? I'm interested in that kind of stuff, but I didn't imagine that's where we would end up. You mentioned music podcasts. 2016 started a music podcast. Rochester, New York's my hometown. I love bourbon, love going out. I was going out literally 3 to 5 nights a week. And I was the biggest music advocate you'd ever imagine. At some point, you're like, do I want to be a consumer or do I want to be a producer of some kind? Entertainment industry is not run unless there's consumers. But I wanted to add value. So I started a music podcast, wanted to add value, but more than anything, just to get into places for free. And I did that music podcast from 2016 to 2020. 2020, I'm in corporate like agency role at that time. I'm business Ben. I'm not business Ben yet, but I'm pretending to be suit and tie, 15th floor, working in the city. Like, I thought I had it all. And then I got let go during the pandemic. So this music party animal guy who was a music promoter on the side, corporate by day, music by night, is now broke, unemployed, literally non-essential because the industry shut down for the pandemic. And that's where like I created actual business Ben in quotes, who's an entrepreneur. And I had a sales background, I had a marketing background, but I had learned how to podcast and stuff. I had learned how to sell, I had learned how to market, but I didn't have a job. So I was like, what's a better way to get connected, find a job, learn stuff than starting a business podcast? I'll do what I did for music, but I'll bring on Rochester, New York business leaders. I called it Rochester Business Connections because I needed some. People are like, people ask me questions about connection, and I've learned a couple things, and I can talk about like lead generation connections, but like I wasn't the most connected person. I was disconnected. I was lonely. It was a pandemic. I didn't know what to do. So I started a podcast to learn from the people that knew something. So I was going to bring on business owners and leaders in Rochester, New York, and slowly made a name for myself as the Rochester Business Podcaster. That kind of led into accidentally starting a marketing firm. I didn't really know what I was doing as a business owner, and I wasn't actually selling much. I was building relationships, and I was being a student because every conversation I had, they knew 99 things that I didn't know. I knew one thing that they didn't know, and it's how to market well. So I got to learn every conversation, build relationships, and these people might become a client, but even if they don't, they became friends, mentors, ambassadors. They referred people to me, et cetera, et cetera. Now, fast forward to today, it's called Real Business Connections, Emmy Award winners, cult whistleblowers. Had an agency for 5 years now. Got to like pinch myself because it's been crazy. Tons of podcast episodes, speaking this or that. But I'm still learning every single day. Every single conversation, I learn something new. I still serve the role as a student anytime I can. So no, I did not expect any of this. I can give you, if you want the cheat code, I can give you the cheat code, but I didn't have the cheat code. It took me years and years to figure it out, but I did some things right and it got me here. And now I get to be on this podcast, which is badass.
So hold on.
it.
You say the
That's
word
cool.
cheat code. I can give you the cheat code. Give us the cheat code. Is it like up, up, down, down, A, B, start, select? Like, what is it?
It's select start, Drew. Come
My
on,
bad.
Contra, man.
My bad.
So
My
I'll
bad.
make it super duper simple. I mean, we can go really, really, really deep on this. But first off, like, what do you value? And then what's your niche? And then you figure out who values the same stuff. So what do I value? What do they value? How can I service them somehow? And who are they? I make 3 categories: plus, minus, and equals. Plus is a mentor. They're going to educate you. If maybe you do stuff for them for free and then they leave you an endorsement and that's huge for you. Let's say you're starting a podcast, they come on your show. Mentors are huge, but we often forget like the equals, which is your peer. You need to have a peer support group. You need to learn industry. This is exactly what you guys do on this podcast. You want that peer-to-peer support, and you don't always spend money on each other, but you become ambassadors and referral partners for each other. Minus is your mentees, your audience, your target clients, the people that you're going to maybe sell to or maybe mentor, or they're listening to your podcast. So you have your values, you have your mentors, your peers, and your audience. Do they value the same thing as you? A lot of times, yeah. If not, they're not going to be a good fit for you, possibly working long term, building a book of business, building a reputation, and you just create something for all 3 of those categories. So let's say you have a podcast. You bring on mentors. They help you look good. They create thought leadership in the fact I'm the guy talking to the big named guest. I'm a little name dude, but people see me as a bigger name just because I'm talking to these big name guests. So they become mentors, they become social proof for you, and they teach you all the stuff that you want to learn. They charge thousands of dollars an hour, 50K a keynote. You get it for free as a podcast host. Your peers become your referral partners, the people that you spend time with, the people that you learn from, and then your audience. So many people are so focused on audience. That's basically what you get. I'm having trouble phrasing this right now because I had a couple sips of beer. It was the silliest statement ever, but I'm just making excuses. It's icing on the cake.
That's why we do it, Ben. That's why
It's
we do
icing
it.
on the cake.
The
What
audience
I
is icing.
Yes. What I did is I talked to mentors and peers, business owners that know way more stuff than I'm a business owner from Rochester, New York. Let's talk to business owners in Rochester, New York. They are my mentor and my peer. They can also become my client, but I wasn't looking at scaling my audience. I wasn't looking at talking to Emmy Award winners. I was looking at one-to-one conversations, one-to-one relationships with the kind of people I wanted in my network. And I chose Rochester, New York because I'm born and raised there. It's easy when you choose proximity because people want to support their locals. Like they're down the street from me, but we're both showing up in our pajama pants on Zoom. But you could choose local. And if you're a minnow in an ocean of sameness, get in the smallest pond possible. That could be your hometown, or choose a niche, like something super, super niche. Like if you're the fantasy baseball guy, I don't know many people that do fantasy baseball, but there's millions of other fantasy baseball fans out there. So your niche, your audience, what do you value? What do they value? Show up and serve and support them. And I just happen to do it with a podcast. But there's a million ways that you can do it once you have those basic elements in place.
That sounds like a cheat code for good sales too, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? All those things you said. Absolutely. Especially when I think about what you said about building relationships and then being a student. It reminds me of what we talked about on this episode we called Shut Up and Stop Selling, which was really about that, right? It's about being curious, about asking good questions and genuinely caring about the answer, being a student, sitting back and listening and learning, right? And then that it is a beautiful way to sell, but hardly anybody knows how to do that.
Ben,
I was worried
know-
when I was coming on Whiskey is for Closers, just because I don't try to hard close anybody. I just show value and they buy from me. It's very much permission based. I don't need closing questions. It's what would you like to do, or would you be open to possibly having a relationship and moving this forward? Like, I don't close anybody. I just build relationships and see what happens. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't really care. I'm having fun anyways. Go ahead, Drew. I know I cut you off a little bit.
No, well, and to your point, it's like when you do it that way that you described, it's like people close themselves because of exactly what you just said. Like, I don't have to, I'm just a facilitator of being curious, right? I'm just going on a journey with them just to try to better understand. And with along that same line, having spoken to so many different people, I would love to know what are maybe like one or two interviews that have impacted you. Like when you had them, maybe you walked in going, this thing, I'm interested to kind of see where this is going. And you walked out of that where you were just like, oh my God, this was deeply impactful for me. Are there any like that stand out to you by the time you finished up those conversations with?
So many of them, man.
That's got to be tough for you, I would think.
A big one, I always like to, I'll mention his name all day long, Brian Bogert. We can add it to the notes or just look in Brian Bogert, Real Business Connections. I've had him on twice. He's become a great mentor of mine. He's become a close friend, and we're clients of each other. Like, I'm in his high ticket mastermind and I produce his podcast. So we're spending money on each other. All of that's just what happens when you build relationships. But what wowed me, in the short version, he tells it better than me, is he's a kid. He's walking out of the grocery store. It's a typical day. He gets hit by a car and his arm gets severed from his body.
My gosh.
Again, I don't want to tell his full story for him, but everything happened perfectly the way it was meant to, in the regard that a nurse witnessed it. They have a bunch of Good Samaritans get ice. They put his arm on ice. They could have just amputated. They actually were able to reattach it. But just
That's
imagine
crazy.
his entire life has been physical trauma, social trauma of people making fun of him, physical therapy, questioning, like, what's his purpose, like a traumatic event. And he's really taught me that we all have unique stories. His is a little out of left field. A lot of people can't relate.
Sure.
We can't relate to having our arm cut off, thank God. But we all have a unique story. And we need to step into that because we all have experiences that others have had, that others will understand. I like to ask people, like, what's a fun hobby or something completely unrelated to business that helps you show up in your role? Like, for me, music's a big part of it. I'm very creative in my marketing agency because I have this creative music lens. And whether it's having our arm cut off or going to concerts or being very data oriented, you can't beat us in fantasy baseball because I know all the stats. That's how we show up and we serve people. I mean, he really helped me because I thought I was boring, and I am kind of boring. But he's helped me realize that none of us are just boring. We all have a story that needs to be told. And he's a great friend, so it's easy to shout him out.
That's cool. That's really cool. I love that. I think the parallel between good podcasting and good sales is that ability to ask unexpected questions, right? To really kind of throw somebody off a little bit, push them out of the kind of standard programmed comfort zone that they stay in or want to be in, and get them talking about something that's unexpected. So you mentioned one about the hobby. Is there another one? Any other secrets that you have to asking the questions that no one expects?
So I said this pre-interview. Have you ever had a guest that just won't answer your question? They'll answer the
Yeah.
question. Can I just do that real quick?
Sure.
Answer the question you didn't ask?
Yes.
Because the second thing that comes to mind, and it's sales oriented, I actually don't share this much because it makes me look a little less cool, but it's actually smart from a sales context. Jordan Harbinger has been podcasting like 15 plus years. He's one of the biggest podcasters of all time. He won't say yes to anyone. You need to have an audience, but I actually donated to his charity to get him on my show. So I
Okay.
paid for the opportunity. He's the only one I've actually ever paid to be on the show. I'm like getting, as a host, you get like free consulting. It's amazing. I paid him to be on the show because I'm a huge listener of his show. So people ask me, Ben, how do you find such good guests? The short version is I listen to a lot of podcasts. So anytime I listen to someone who's guesting on Jordan's show, I can say something like, hey, Steve, I loved your episode on Jordan's show. Here's a couple takeaways that really stood out. Appreciate all you do. That's my connection request on LinkedIn, for example. If they connect, I'd be like, would you be open to be a guest on my show? Jordan's been on twice, which is true. Jordan Harbinger's been on twice. So's name drop person C, name drop person D. And the way I find these names is I look at who they're following, I look at who they've collaborated with, or people that are in their industry. So I name drop Jordan, then I name drop two other people, and that's how I make my offer. People are like, Ben, how do you get such big guests? It's the leverage of the guests you've currently had and
So
their
good.
network to get bigger and bigger guests. So Jordan was a great conversation, but you were talking about impactful podcasts. I donated to charity. I paid to have him on. But since I became friends with Jordan, it gave me leverage to actually get to know his network. And yeah, I'm using this. It's like it's easy pickings because it's podcast and it's like free value for the guest. But it's a
So good,
sales
though.
tool 101. We can do this in all our products and services.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where
And
I learned
I don't
that.
mean to I don't mean to interrupt. Immediately my mind went into a thousand different directions because I think that's such a good business development application, right? So Steve, I'm actually curious on your thoughts on this. Why is it that most business development people don't spend that amount of time to find the connections in? Because we're in conversations every day with business owners that are struggling to find leads, and often they're getting most of their business off of referrals, but they're not sophisticated in it. They just kind of allow stuff to come to them. What Ben is doing is proactive business development and is super applicable to most of our audience. How do you translate that? And why aren't more salespeople putting in that kind of effort and work into building their business.
Well, I mean, I think there's some layers to that, right? And I think
Yeah.
about not necessarily the sales. I know there's salespeople that struggle with it, but when I'm thinking in the context of what we see, Craig, it's the founders of the businesses that we're working with that aren't even comfortable when we bring it up as something that salespeople can do for them, right? And I think because there's a lot of people out there that don't do it well, that are kind of just slimy about it, then it creates a little bit of a negative energy around it. It's like, wait a minute, you use the term name drop, right, Ben? But you're doing it. So name dropping is distasteful to a lot of people. You're around somebody that's name dropping, you're like, okay, whatever, okay, a lot of people, good for you. So there's people who are turned off by that. And so they just don't do it instead of thinking strategically about how do I do this in a way that feels natural, it feels organic, it feels relational, it doesn't feel manipulative.
Yes.
And so I
yes.
think that there's a way to do it the right way, but a lot of people don't really know how to do that and don't take the time to figure it out.
What I loved, Steve, about what Ben explained there was he's not just name dropping random names.
Right.
He went in and researched their network and handpicked people that he knows and they know and dropped those in. And that's what got my mind going, oh my gosh, that is like a business development masterclass.
Yeah,
right?
That's the difference between being strategic about it and just being an idiot, right? So, so now after this podcast, think about it, Ben, you're going to be able to go talk about how Drew Epperson, and all the things, all the cool relationships are going to come out of that.
Dude, it's so good and
killer,
it's so
man.
true. Yeah.
Well, and I think too, to the point, like the big difference, Steve, that as I hear you and as I listen to Ben talk about it, is motivation behind what I'm doing, right? If my motivation is to look cool because I've had Jordan Harbinger on my podcast, people can smell that from a mile away. But if you're going, no, listen, man, I'm here to deliver value. As I listen to Ben talk about this, I don't get an ounce of any sort of posturing or any name dropping, anything out of that, because it's the motivation, you can just sense it. It's an energy people give off, and it's going, if I'm just here trying to crank out messages and I don't want to actually do the work to actually find the connection points, people are going to smell that, feel that, and go, nope, I'm good. Thank you very much. So that's huge.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about before. We talk about it all the time, Ben, as a team, about intent and the importance of intent as it relates to sales, or in this case, podcasting, or just being in a relationship, right? If our intent is what's in it for me, that's going to come through every single time. Even if we're good at hiding it, our human nature is pretty good at picking up on that. And so your intent, as you've talked here, it's really evident that, hey, I'm here. And you said it even before we jumped on. I just want to add value. I want to be curious. I want to learn. And then I'm going to take what's given to me through that process and share it with others.
Podcasting's such a cheat code because literally, Ben wants to learn from this person. It's selfish. There's something in this for me. I want to learn from this person really bad, so bad. I have a platform where I can learn, click record, and then other people get to learn with me.
Yeah.
So I'm not just keeping, because it would cost me a lot of money to hire them an hour for their time, just one-to-one. But I'm like, let's create a platform where I can get their time for free, but distribute it to all my network. And then I'm the biggest advocate for my guests. I will introduce people to them. If they want to be on more podcasts, I know 10 for them immediately. I'm like, how can I add value? Because at the core, Ben's winning as much, if not more than anybody. I am such a winner in this scenario, and I'm humble enough to know it, that I want to add as much value to the audience, to the guest, everybody. And part of why you're using these names, realistically, it's social proof, because if they saw my numbers, especially on day 1, or day 365, even today, my numbers are way better, but even today, they're not mind-blowing. And then they start getting into their analytical mind, and they're like, do I really want to spend an hour when I could get paid $10,000 for a keynote talking to this idiot on LinkedIn? And I let my past guests do the selling for me, because I'm not here to try to coerce them to be my guest and be featured. I just want to make the offer. If they bite, great. If not, they'll bite eventually. But I'll find someone new. Certain guests, I'm convicted on getting certain guests on because it's what my audience needs.
Ben, when you have these guests that come on, there are moments where they are opening them up. They are opening them up. They are opening up and sharing some really deep, authentic kind of like experiences, right? What creates, let's call it that safety? What creates the safety for an individual to want to talk about these kind of like, hey, we've got past the walls, we've got past the, glitz and the glamour, and now we're really getting down to the real talk. What creates that? How do you create that when you're talking to individuals that they end up opening up and sharing? Maybe there's times where they're like, I don't even know why I'm sharing this, and then they begin to talk about that. How do you do that? What creates that?
Yeah, so Craig had a little nugget in the PDF prep form he sent, and I think it literally said no gotcha moments. And one of the things I do a few things prior to the call. I generally explain to them who the audience is so they know exactly who they're talking to. People don't listen to podcasts in auditoriums, they listen in their earbuds. So I explain that one person. And then I let them know, like, I do very little editing, if not any editing at all, but I only have 3 priorities. It's to add value to the audience, and I've just explained who they are. It's to help you look good. And I'll literally say there's no gotcha moments. I can edit out anything at any time. I want the audience to gain value. I want you to look good. If I look good, that's just icing on the cake. So realistically, I'll make myself, I do not have a big enough ego that I care. I'll make myself look bad on purpose because that'll allow me to ask the question the audience is wondering rather than me being Mr. Expert. I'm going to be in the shoes of my listener. So that's one of my pre-frames. And then during the conversation, like for a sales professional, I feel like, I guess common sense isn't that common, but we've all said, you got to freaking listen. I listen.
That's good. That's good.
I don't necessarily ask the question that I want to ask in my head. I ask the question that's relevant to the conversation. And I know this gets really detailed, and I'm not like a king at understand micro expressions. I've had body language experts on the show. But if I see that they get the smile going and they really perk up at a certain section of their answer, I want to circle back to that. Or as you said in the intro, Craig, ex-convicts. I had an ex-convict on the show, Sean V. Bradley, and he gets out of jail. I forget exactly how I asked this. It was like episode 16 of one of my podcasts. It was a few years ago. I'm like, so you get out of jail, and he was like a drug dealer as a kid. He went to jail as a teenager. Dang. And I'm like, you get out of jail, you're sitting in the car driving home. How does that feel? And he goes,
it's a good question.
He goes, nobody has ever asked me that. And like people want to know, like, did you drop the soap or did you ever go in solitary? Like, to me, it's an obvious question. You just got out of jail. How does it feel to have your freedom back? To me, it's the obvious question is that I'm asking. But a key there, though, is it's also an emotional question. An emotion creates that you were talking about, Steve.
That's so good, Ben. Talk us through a little bit more of your mental process. What is it that made you, mention micro expressions, but are there other elements or other things that you're listening for that maybe other people miss? And I know that you said that this is like a no-brainer question for you, but I think for a lot of people, we've got these formulas and trainings and all this stuff that we're trying to do that we've forgotten what it's like to just be in a normal human conversation. And so what is it that makes those conversations so special for you or so unique? What else are you noticing that other people seem to be missing?
I'm going to answer this, and I'm actually still learning. So I'm the student sharing what I learned last week kind of in this answer. Yeah. But if anyone looks up Joe Hudson, Art of Accomplishment, he's fantastic. I've never seen so many people cry on a coaching call. It's just like he has a way of doing it. And his framework, and I'm not saying I'm an expert at this. I was doing some of these things before I heard the framework, but his framework simplifies it for all of us. He talks about being in view in your conversations. View, vulnerability, impartiality, empathy, and wonder. Vulnerability. You need to be willing to be vulnerable if you want them to be vulnerable. Very simply put. And you need to create a space where you allow it. And maybe they need a moment to clear their thoughts. Maybe you don't talk. Maybe you shut up and let them finish and let them think. So allow vulnerability. Impartiality. I don't really care how this goes. I'm here to show up to this conversation. I'm an expert at what I do. I have my opinions, but I'm going to be impartial. I'm not going to push my opinions upon you. I think if we all have curious conversations where we question each other's like own beliefs, that's where the magic happens. I'm going to show up impartial whether we agree or not. That's cool. Empathy, we've all heard empathy, but it's really like you don't have to take on their emotion. You don't have to take on their opinion, but you do have to show a willingness to understand it and be empathetic towards it. And wonder, the way I see wonder is like curiosity on steroids. Because curiosity is often solution-based. I'm really curious about this question. I'm going to do some research to find the answer. Wonder is a child touching the hot stove because he wonders what it's going to feel like. It's a state of awe, a state of like, I don't even know where this is going to go. And if you can, this is hard. I'm not an expert on it. But like be filled with awe and wonder. Every conversation is like talking to God or something because you're just like, wow, I've never heard anyone say something like that. So if you're vulnerable, impartial, empathetic, and in a state of wonder, the rest is just trust. You need to have skills, like you need to possibly take a communications class. You want to understand what a good question looks like. You want to be present. You want to learn how to listen, but you really don't need that many skills per se if you're just being present in the moment with those characteristics. That's Joe Hudson, not Ben Albert. So give it to Joe.
That is,
man.
man, that's beautiful. In fact, the framework that you went through, you talked about all you got to do next is trust, but that framework is going to actually create an environment of trust, is it not? I mean, that trust will flow from that.
It's not going to make you a good salesperson, but it'll make people feel very comfortable with you. You don't necessarily
I would disagree.
Yeah, I mean,
I would disagree.
Well, you want to know your product.
An excellent salesperson.
What I mean is you want to know your product. You want to understand what you're talking about. You don't want to just like make stuff up. But those are the intangibles that they aren't really going to teach you in a sales script.
Yeah, that's good.
Those, right. Yeah. And those are the kind of the givens of sales is knowing your product and service. But the thing that you talked about, the art of that framework is that's where the magic happens. In fact, it's the irony of the whole Whiskey is for Closers title of this podcast, because like you were saying earlier, I don't show up here seeing myself as a closer, and neither do we, but we see ourselves as some guys who love to hang out and do relationships over a glass of whiskey. And when you do that and you take that posture, the closings just naturally happen, right? Because people just want to work with you, especially if you're offering something that they need. So that's the irony of it, is that closing lines and pickup lines in bars with girls, I mean, it works for some people, but I think for most people, it's
Never
a sham.
worked for me.
No, I can't wait to do some dating stories, Drew. But Ben, we've circled around your sales experience a little bit. Let's go there. Let's talk about the early kind of days in sales for you. And I know you got some good stories to share there, but talk about that and how that informs who you are today.
I feel like I learned what not to do. And to be fair, every environment's different. There's lots of ways to skin a cat, they say, right? It felt like the Wolf of Wall Street. We had a gong. I got really good at hitting it, which means I was selling stuff. The goal wasn't to help. I mean, I don't know. I'm just learning. This is my first ever sales role. I'm calling people on the phone. We're doing screen shares, but not video. This was like prior to video shares. And even like one thing I learned about like persuasion and framing, and I was dealing with a lot of contractors. This is where people think Ben's icky. It's just factual. I was dealing with lots of contractors. So I had this beautiful dog, this beautiful German Shepherd with an American flag around it on this beautiful day with the woods in the background. And I had that as my desktop because I knew I was dealing blue collar. So as soon as I would share my screen, I'd allow them to see it. I didn't say, hey, look at my background. I'd allow them to see it. and then I would drag the document over it and start my presentation. But I wanted them to know that I was a good old fashioned American man just like them. I was using all the manipulative tactics because my goal was to get a one call close.
Yeah.
That was the goal. It was to sell them on ad placement, low ticket product, like average customers 2 to 5K a year, which is relatively low ticket for a business owner. And my goal was to get them that moment on the sale. And one time someone literally said to me, "You're a really good salesperson." And I'm like, "Then why aren't you buying?" And that's like, when someone tells you that, that means they just like realize you're using all the tactics on them. It doesn't make you a good salesperson.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was miserable. Like I was going to music too much. I was drinking. Drinking's not bad, but I was drinking way too much. And I didn't really know what I was doing. And I actually started to realize that it was not like ideal long term. And the one thing I'm not getting myself credit for is, so I had the biggest sale that we had all year in my department. No one, like, we're doing like 2, 3, 4K ticket sales. I had 17K and it took me 6 calls, not 1 call. But it was pretty big for what we were selling. It was multiples. And I would talk to this guy for 45 minutes at a time. Instead of like 20 minutes, one and done, probably talk to him 45 minutes 6 times. And my sales manager kept being like, you need to get off the phone. You're wasting our money. And I'm like, just trust me. Just trust me. I think I know what I'm doing. But I was just talking to the guy. Like, he was in a bad relationship with his company, wanted out, and it wasn't going to happen immediately. So I just maintained the relationship and I talked. And after that deal, and multiple times, sales manager literally said to me, "I don't know what you're doing, but I guess just keep doing it because I guess it works." And they put me in the corner of the room facing the wall so no one could listen to me, because they were it's like Wolf of Wall Street, right? They were
So
fast
weird.
talking. They were fast talking, sweet, caramel talking, beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to woo you over the phone. And I was just like hanging out with the people. I was just asking questions. I didn't even know how to sell. I just knew that if I built trust, it would sell, I guess. But I described a lot of things you shouldn't do. And what I learned to do is what was actually working. It wasn't the closing lines. It wasn't the manipulation. I'm sure the picture of the dog helped, but that wasn't like the deal breaker.
So great.
I don't think that was the deal breaker. And now I don't actually have a marketing company. I don't really know the difference between marketing and sales. To me, it's the same. I just like add a ton of value. I build trust and I say, "Hey, do you want to buy stuff?" And they either do or they don't. And I'm way less attached to outcome. I just do my thing. But yeah, I was a fish out of water in that environment. And I was still one of the top salespeople, but I was doing everything wrong. And I was miserable. So I feel like I probably internally knew that I wasn't doing things the right way. This is by now just therapy. I don't know if there's a
I love it.
lesson, but that's my story.
Ben,
Hey, we can do that too.
you said something. You said, "I don't get attached to the outcome." Man, I
Mhm.
really think that's really important, dude. I really do. In fact, Steve and I were having conversations about that in the last few months, about the importance of staying true to the process, right? And going, hey, the outcomes are going to come. And when you just focus solely on the outcome, that's usually when you start to self-sabotage at some point through the process. Tell me more about not being attached to that outcome and why that's so important.
I mean, I think quotas are BS. I'm not a sales manager, so I'm not the final source. Y'all can agree or disagree. I think quotas are BS because whether that sale lands on March 28th or April 12th, it's a sale. And I feel like a lot of people have commission breath. They're hungry. They're looking at their paycheck. They're looking at the leaderboard. They want to smash that gong. And it brings out the worst in you, and you actually
Yep.
perform worse. I think people perform best when they detach from outcome, detach from quota, show up to every conversation the best they can, and win as many as they can. And if they lose, like, wow, here's an analogy for you. Let's say you're building a house. You win a conversation. You have a win. You place a brick. You have a failure. You place a brick. You don't take the brick and throw it through the glass. You take your losses and you use them as the foundation of what you're building. So if you see a loss or a bad conversation or a flub up as something to be ashamed about, that's not going to help you. That's actually the foundation of the home you're building. So there's no winning or losing. Every conversation's a win as long as I do the best I can for the situation, and you only get better. Like the best you can today is nothing compared to the best you can once you have, a little bit more experience. But I want to hear from you guys because I'm just yapping over here.
No, it's
That's
good,
gold,
man.
man.
It's good
That's
stuff.
gold. That's really good.
Good stuff. So, Ben,
Hear
just
about
being
sales.
Well, yeah, I can definitely speak to sales quotas.
Steve, that's what I want to hear from you on that one, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do, Drew.
So, yeah, sales quotas, I'm right there with you, Ben. Having lived under those for a long time, I always thought they were BS as well. And you're absolutely right. It unintentionally creates really bad behavior. So when I became a sales leader, when I had the chance to do that, I didn't have quotas. I didn't do quotas. I had minimum performance expectations, right? Because we have to understand what it is we need to do to keep our job. But then there was beyond that, it was really more tied to what is it you're trying to accomplish, Ben? What do you want to, what are your personal goals and objectives? How do we get that? Because those are typically so powerful, they'll take somebody way beyond a freaking quota. So I was
Agreed.
all about figuring out, okay, what's Ben trying to accomplish in his life? And I remember there was one guy that worked for me years ago who he had 2 kids that he had adopted, and they were fetal alcohol babies. As a result of that, he had medical expenses that were just unbelievable. And I remember him telling me this mountain of debt that he had from medical expenses. And he told me he felt like he'd never get out from under it. And so I said, okay, let's just sit down and do some math. And, for those of you who know me, math is not my thing, but I was like, we're going to do some math here. And we basically just mapped out what it would take in sales to get to the place where he could pay that debt off. And it was absolutely revolutionary in terms of what happened for him, because once he saw that there was line of sight to that, he absolutely crushed it. He was the top sales guy in our company for a number of years, and he paid off that debt in less than 5 years.
That's amazing.
It was
That's amazing.
way better than a quota. So I'm 100% with you on that. If a good sales leader is going to find out what the intrinsic motivation is that people have and what they're striving for their family and legacy, and they're going to tap into that, and believe me, the quotas will come. They'll be satisfied.
That's awesome. Well, Ben, as we kind of wrap our time here, I want to be sensitive.
I have all night. It's up to y'all.
I love it. Well, if you could pass on one piece of wisdom to founders who are trying to scale their sales, what would it be?
This can become a rabbit hole, but I'll keep it concise. I don't think there's one piece of wisdom. I don't think there's a key to success. I think it's a combination lock, similar to a padlock at the gym or a pin on your phone, or the reason that they take your fingerprint when you get in trouble. Why do they do that? It's because you have a unique fingerprint. You have a unique DNA code. So how do you show up? What product do you sell? Who can help you? What does your audience need? What is your combination? A lot of people will just take someone else's. Great way to get your feet wet and to get a little reps in is to hire someone and follow their playbook. But the best people don't just follow a playbook that's been done 1,000 times. They learn how to audible. They learn how to bring their own special sauce to the conversation, to the product, to the team. What is that special sauce? I can't answer that for you. But if you start discovering your combination, your clients, your mentors, your skills, your products, and how you uniquely show up, that's how you start unlocking everything. Because the clearer you are on your own combination, the less you are to feed into other people's BS. The less you are attached to outcome because you know your product's good whether they like it or not. I'm just here to serve you the best I can. You have to discover your combination, and that's why I podcast, because I don't have it all figured out. Every conversation to me is unlocking a new digit. So let's just go unlock some new digits. And that's my advice. And I know that's ethereal and it's personalized, but don't think any of us, as smart as we can be, don't think any of us have the one answer. Take a little bit, or honestly, like I don't know. Don't subscribe, don't listen, never listen to me again. Go do your own thing if you want. The people that you want to learn from. And if
I
it's
love
this
that.
podcast, then subscribe to it. I'm not trying to get people to not listen to your podcast, but I hope you get the point.
No, that's good.
That's amazing. I mean, what I hear if I was trying to roll all that up, Ben, is stop trying to be a carbon copy of somebody else. Be your authentic
good.
self. Find you and be confident and comfortable in you, right? I think that's awesome.
But
Dang,
there's
I
some
need Steve
work
just
that
to do that
takes
for
in
me all
order
the
for
time.
that to happen, right, Ben? Like there's some internal work that is beyond the, hey, I read a book and I got some ideas from the book. Like this is sitting in and going, who am I? What
Yeah.
motivates me? How do I fully actualize into the greatest version of me? And I'm not meaning like from one decision or one thing, but like that process, that evolutionary, growth that we all go through, that building off of previous seasons, previous experiences, good and bad. The Buddhists say, hey, this too shall pass. And that's good and bad. The good things are going to pass. The bad things are going to pass. So how do we start to evolve and grow through that? How do we become the greatest version of ourselves? And if we don't stop long enough and detach from screens and detach from constant learning and detach from, well, what did that person say? Well, how did that person get there? And go, no. How do you get there? Why does this matter to you? Why do you come alive? Why do you find that interesting? And when you put those pieces together, that's really where the synergistic selling comes from, because now you show up and people authentically believe, and they want to be a part of that process, and they want to be a part of that goal, not some sort of carbon copy of somebody else or something else. That's really what I hear you kind of talking about as a whole.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. Meditation
Yeah,
is for
man.
closers.
Right? That's so good. Oh, that's so good. Well, Ben, as you know, we end every episode with a toast, and I am up this week. But before that, where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
I'll give them 2 options and 1 requirement. The requirement is if this added value, click subscribe if you haven't yet. Click the thumbs up if it's there. Click 5 stars. If you want bonus points, I'm sure y'all are going to be reading the reviews. Leave a review. It's lonely. I mean, it's not that lonely because I'm hanging out with y'all, but we want to know that you're listening in, So do that. That's the requirement. If you do that, you can check out Real Business Connections podcast wherever you found this, or Google it. Just type in Real Business Connections. And we didn't talk about this quite much during the conversation, but I actually have a community where we put on multiple networking events. It's for entrepreneurs, marketing, and sales. There's free stuff. There's a mastermind, growth-oriented entrepreneurs. WeAllGrowTogether.com. WeAllGrowTogether.com. The mission is in the URL. If that rings true, check that out. Click boom. I don't know if you click boom. Click a couple buttons.
Click
Boom.
I love it. Oh, that's so
But
good, man.
only if you leave a review or click 5 stars here first, and then I'll hang out with y'all.
You the
I
man.
love
Ben.
it. I love it. Thank you so much, Ben. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So as we wrap, a little toast. And this was inspired by Ben, who was inspired by somebody else who I can't remember their name. But to the founders who are feeling the sales pressure compounding as the end of the year nears, may they find a new view. May they be able to be vulnerable, impartial, empathetic, and approach each and every conversation with wonder. Cheers.
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 Cheers. Beautiful.
I'm going to cry.
Good. That's good. Well, gentlemen, there it is. Hundreds of conversations, countless connections, and one powerful truth. The best salespeople aren't the ones with the slickest pitch. They're the ones who know how to create a space where people actually want to open up. Whether you're behind the microphone or across the boardroom table, the principles are the same. Ask better questions like your business depends on it, because it does. If you're sitting there thinking, I need to completely rethink how I approach sales, good, because that's exactly where the breakthrough begins. So before you go, One quick thing, if this episode hit different, share it with another founder who's stuck being their company's only closer. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is permission to sell differently. So this, today, has been Whiskey Is for Closers. Keep pouring the good stuff, keep having real conversations, and we'll see you next time. Until then, stay thirsty, stay curious, and always be connecting. Maybe with a new view. Cheers. There we go.